Okay, welcome to another Rust tutorial. In this session, what I'm going to cover is enumerations or enums. Enums are a way of declaring a type and different variants within that type. So what I mean by that is what we can do is we can define a type, and then within that we can specify what each variant is of that type. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to define the enum. Then after that, I'm going to show you how to match against an enum so that we can actually match against the data type and the variant and carry out some kind of action. The third thing I'm then going to show you is I'm going to show you how to add more information to your variant so that we can have specific types of information associated with that. We're using an example of dog breeds. So a dog breed would be maybe a pointer, a terrier, or a spaniel. And then the information that we can associate with each of those variants might be the name, the color, the age, and the type of dog that it is, which could be, something like a gun dog or a toy dog. I'm going to show you information about what happens if you want to match against each of those, and also if you don't want to do exhaustive matches. Okay, how to use a wildcard character. So stick around. We're going to go through it at a fairly fast pace, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll know how to define an enumeration. You'll know how to create different variants. You'll know how to match against those variants. You'll know how to use a wildcard, and you will be able to use them in functions. All right, let's dive straight in. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the derive debug up here, because then I can print information out later. And then I'm going to use the pro word enum. I need to give it a name. And then between the curly brackets, we can now iterate and describe the different variants we're going to have. So I'm going to use pointer, terrier, and a spaniel. Okay, so we've now defined our enum, and we can actually work with our enum having defined the variants in it. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a variable and assign the data type and one of the variants to that variable. So I'm going to create a dog breed with the type of pointer. And then after that, I'm going to write a match condition so that we can match against that variance, and then we can carry out some kind of action. In this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to print something out, but you could obviously match against this, and then it shows you how you could run different types of code depending on how the variant is matched against. So the first thing I need to do is declare a variable. So I'm going to have let my dog equal, and then I need the enumeration, and I need the individual variant that I'm looking for, which is a pointer. Now I want to match against that. So I'm going to write match my dog. And then I'm going to have the different values that I've got here. So the first variant is a pointer. So this is going to obviously be true when we do it. I'm just going to print out a value here. So having done that, what we need to do is just to kind of review our code. We've got let my dog, so we've created a variable and we've stored the type dog breed and the variant pointer in there. And now what we're going to do is going to run a match statement against my dog to see which one it matches against. So we're expecting it to return it is a pointer. It's also going to generate a warning because I haven't used these two other values. So let's run that now. Okay, so as I said, we got a warning here that terrier and spaniel are not constructed, but down here we can see that it returned it is a pointer because we created our variable dog breed with the pointer in it, and then after that we matched against that. So in our last example, I showed you how we could construct a an enumeration with 3 different variants in it. Then we created a variable and we assigned the data type and the variant to that variable, and then we created a match condition against that. The next thing I'm going to show you quickly is how to just silence the warning that we're getting that we haven't constructed the other 2 variables. We haven't constructed the other 2 variants. So I'm going to show you how to turn that off. So back here in the console, we got this warning, variants terrier and spaniel are never constructed. And down here, it says, note, warning, dead code on by default. So to silence this, just whilst I'm developing, I'm just going to go up to the top here and I'm going to paste that in. And instead of saying warn, I'm going to say allow. So if I clear my text down here, and then if I run this again, you can see that it silenced that message and we just get our return result. It's a pointer. So this is a useful thing when you're just iterating quickly and developing your code to allow some things to happen without all of these warnings appearing. Other times, like when you're going towards production, you want to obviously remove those so that you're making sure that your code is warning you about things that you haven't captured. The next thing I want to talk about is that enumerations, when you're defining them and using them in your code, it must be exhaustive. So if in our case we've defined 3 variants, the pointer, the terrier and the spaniel, we need to make sure that when we're using those in our codes, we're matching against each one of those, or there is a way around that, and I'll show you how to use a wildcard in just a second. But basically, we need to be able to make sure that our match statement caters for the 3 variants or however many variants that we have defined in our code. If we don't do that, it's going to generate an error message. So I'm going to show you the error message so that you know what you're looking for, and then we're going to figure out a way that we can fix that. So in here, I've got my 3 defined, and this code was working. It returned it's a pointer, but like if I comment this code out, I've now commented this out, and so this variant has not been catered for. We've got 3 variants, pointer, terrier, spaniel, but we've actually removed the spaniel here. So if I run this now, we get an error message. So it says non-exhaustive patterns, dog breed spaniel not covered, match my dog, pattern dog breed spaniel not covered. So down here we must, it's saying that we must capture all of these. So the simple way to do it is to either cover all of the variants that we have, or there's another way that we can do this as well. Let's say we don't want to kind of do all of them. We can actually create a wildcard character with it, which is this underscore here. That's the wildcard. And then like maybe we just return other. Okay, so now when I run this again, I don't get my error message because I've used that wildcard character to match against variants which I have not defined explicitly. So that shows you how to, maybe if you've got like a lot of variants or something like that, but you can use a wildcard to match against anything that you haven't covered explicitly. So one of the other things we can do with an enum is we can actually store some data in the enum, and to do that we need to give more information about what the type of information we're going to store in that. So if we were to take our example using dogs and dog breeds, okay, a dog will typically have the purpose of the dog. So breeds have different purposes, like one's a gun dog, one might be a toy dog, whatever that is. Most dogs have a name, so we can create these additional attributes when we're storing data, and we have to define that in the enum using the type system. And then after that, we can create an instance and store that in a variable. And then we can use a match statement to match against that and get those values back out so that we can use those values in our code. So back in here, we've got our simple example dog breed. And the next thing we need to do is we need to create some additional information about the type of information we're going to store in here for each variant that we have. Now, this is going to be the same because typically dogs have kind of, the same characteristics, but maybe we'd have an example of different types of vehicle. Like we might have cars, trucks, and bicycles. So those things might have different characteristics, but they're all a type of transport. Okay, so I'm going to just run through now and show you how to add that information in terms of the type to the variance. So the first thing that most dogs have is they have a name, and the type of that is going to be a string. The type, the breed type, let's call it breed type, just so that we're clear from types. That's going to be also a string. And what I mean by breed type is, let's say it's a gun dog or something like that. Okay, typically dogs have some kind of color, so let's have that. That's going to be a string. And then let's say that we want an age, and that's going to be a U32 type. So this information is going to be pretty much the same for each of our variants. Okay, so this now has defined that we can create a type of dog breed. We've got 3 variants: Pointer, Terrier, and Spaniel. And within that, we can also hold information about each of those, and we've defined what type the information is. As I said, like, you could define 3 different types in 3 different variants, and they could have different types of information associated with them. You don't have to, these don't have to match. So having defined my enumeration, given it a name, defined 3 variants, and now defined the type of information that we can store about each one of those variants, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an instance of one of them. And then if you stick around for the next step, we'll actually then go through and perform a match against that information. So back in here, I now need to change this. Let my dog equal dog breed Pointer. So what I now need to do is add the additional information here. The name, the string, the breed type was a string, color was a string, and age as well. So name is going to be string from having created an instance of my dog in terms of it's a pointer, the name is Merlin, the color is brown, the age is 7 years old. The next thing I need to do is amend my my match statement so that it's going to match against that instance, and then it's going to perform some kind of action, which again will just be a simple print statement. So back here in the console, I've got match my dog, and I need to provide information on the type of information I'm looking for. So in here, we were looking for name, breed type, the color, and the age. And then we wanted to perform some kind of action if it matches against those criteria. So in this case, we're just going to print out my dog is called, it is a, and the color is, and they are years old. And then we need to provide the name, breed type, color, and age. And to save a bit of time, I'm just going to copy that information. Okay, great. So I've reconstructed my match statement now. Let's clear this and see if it runs. Okay, so we got a result. My dog is called Merlin. It is a gun dog, and the color is brown, and they are 7 years old. The next thing I want to show you is how we can actually use enums in functions as well, like, you know, so that we can pass the value into a function as a specific type, and then we can perform actions inside a function. So it's going to be a lot more how we would like to break our code up by using it in a function rather than having everything listed as we have at the moment. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a function. So I'm going to create a function up here called function dogs. And in here, we're going to have dog type, and it's going to be of the type dog breed. Okay, and so the next thing we need to do is we need to, when we pass dog breed in, we need to take some kind of action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my match statement from down here. I'm going to cut and paste that, and I'm going to put it into my function. So we're going to match. Now I need to change this here. We're going to match dog type, which is going to be passed in, and then it's going to match against this. So down here in my main function, I'm still declaring my function my dog breed pointer, but now I need to actually call the dogs function. So I'm just going to say dogs, and then I'm going to pass in my dog. Okay, so we get the same result, but what you can see is that we've actually separated that code out into a function. So we've removed it from the main function, and that's a lot more as we would expect to see. The next thing I want to talk about is what happens if we try to pass in a variant that doesn't exist. So this is actually one of the safety features and the whole type system around Rust is if we try to pass in a variant that doesn't exist, it's going to generate an error. So that is actually going to mean that we're going to get some protection from that, or we need to amend our code and add that variant. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. We're going to just go through an example of what happens if you try to pass in a variant that doesn't exist. So back here, we've actually got three different dog breeds which we've declared as variants: Pointer, Terrier, and Spaniel. But what happens if I try to make my pointer here a retriever? So having made that a retriever, I'm actually now going to try and pass this in. So let's see what happens. So having done that, it says retriever variant not found in dog breed. Okay, so this is actually broken the code, if you like, which is a protection mechanism because the variant doesn't exist. So I could create that variant, I could add that. So if I just copy this line here and add it in and then make this a retriever. Now I've added a new variant, and let's run the code again. But I've generated a second error, and the second error is because although we've declared the retriever as a type, I didn't exclusively match. So what I would need to do to fix this is, as we did earlier, we need to do either a wildcard like this. So now that I've passed in my wildcard, it should work by matching against that wildcard. Okay, so that did work. Now that I've passed it in as a wildcard, it printed out other instead, because although we had a retriever variant, we didn't match against it down here. So the other way I can fix that, of course, is I can add it in as a criteria to match against. And if I just do this and I change that to retriever, and then I add this information on again, then we should be able to match against the retriever and get a different result. Okay, so my gun dog is Merlin, it is a gun dog, or my dog is Merlin, it is a gun dog, the color is brown, and they are 7 years old. Okay, so even though I should have changed this to retriever, and then if I run it again, I'm going to get the correct answer. So I hope you enjoyed that really quick run through of enums, enumerations, and how you can use them. Please give this a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. I'd love to get some feedback on what you're looking for, what you'd like to see coming up, and what you'd like to see next on the channel. Okay, thanks very much.